Hi everyone, I hope you're enjoying what we've been doing so far. This week we're focusing on title pages. So you've already seen mine, which is just there in the top left hand corner, but I thought I'd show you how I did it. So I used one of these black Pilot friction pens. Rachel's talked about them in her videos. And to get the oval shape, I traced around this tin that I had. So now that I've got my oval shape, I just sketch out roughly the letters Roxy's Journal of Stitchery. So just a little bit about these Pilot pens. They're the erasable ones. So when you're drawing them on fabric, you can actually make the ink disappear by ironing the back of your piece of fabric, and the pen disappears. Now I have heard that some people say the pens come back, but both Rach and I have used them quite a lot and we've never had that problem. But I believe if it does come back, you just would reapply heat, so iron it again, and the pen should disappear. So now that my lettering is done, what I do is I just draw in place where I'd want the leaves to go. So I think I've got 5 sets of leaves going each direction, and what I'll be doing is I'll be doing a lazy daisy stitch on those ones. Now as you can see, I'm just eyeballing everything. I'm not measuring anything. The leaves are not spaced evenly, but I'm not fussed about that. So now I'm just showing you the different type of stitching I've done on the letters. So these are all stitches. If you've done the stitch samplers, you've actually done all these stitches. So it's mostly satin stitch. I've got a little bit of chain stitch in there. I think I did some split stitch. I've done some couching. Most of it's satin stitch. And then I've got the lazy daisies on the border. Now the top and bottom, I've used that fabric there. So you can see, sorry, I'm a little bit low on the screen there, but there's different little flower clusters, which I've just roughly cut out, and I've stuck one at the top and one at the bottom, and then that's what I embroider, and I'm going to show you a little bit of how I do that in a minute. So I'm going back a little bit here to show you how I actually embellish the flowers a little bit. So this is what I consider to be like painting with thread, where you've got this floral fabric and you can see I've already filled some in, and all I'm doing is just straight stitches just wherever I feel like it to fill in a bit of colour. So I'm not completely covering up every single flower or every single part, but I'm doing it until I like how it looks. So I think you kind of got the idea now. Here you can see up a little bit closer how I've filled in some of those flowers. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some green for the leaves. So after adding some green to the top and bottom, I've finished with sort of the painting of the thread to give it the colour on the flowers. So the next thing I'm going to show you is how I just embellish it a little bit, embellish the centres, and I also add a little bit of interesting features like sequins and beads. So I'm just picking a contrasting colour to the blue, so this is more of an aqua, paler aqua blue, and I'm using the full 6 strands of a stranded DMC cotton, and I'm just doing French knots. Because I'm using all 6 strands, I just do 1 wrap and then put it through because I feel like my knot's thick enough. So I think I do about 5 French knots here. I like to do things in odd numbers if possible. And then I do come back later on and add a slightly different colour blue just to make it look more interesting. Alright, so I've done a few of those French knots. Now this time in the center I want to add a little bit of interesting bling, so I'm just finding some beads that I think will go well. I've got some metallic green beads, and then I also pull out some sequins, and they're sort of metallic purple sequins. So I'm starting off with the metallic purple sequins. I've got a single strand of normal sewing cotton, so that's the kind of cotton that you would use on a sewing machine, and I've just got it in a dark navy blue. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew 3 purple sequins in the center of this purple flower, and I will be doing 3 stitches on each sequin to keep it in place. So what you do, I'm sorry my filming is towards the bottom of the screen. I didn't realize that when I was filming. Hopefully I move it up a little higher. So all I do is I pull my needle through the fabric in the middle of the flower where I want the sequin to be located. Then I put the needle through the sequin, and then I pull the thread over the edge of the sequin at 3 different points. Okay, so I do the same thing 3 times. I think I will lift it up in a minute and show you what that looks like for the 3 sequins. So can you see that there? So I've just sewed all 3 sequins in place, and you can see that they're in the middle there. Again, trying to keep things in odd numbers. It's just what often happens naturally in nature, having odd numbers. Mum used to be a florist, and she used to always say you'd have to put flowers in odd numbers. So now I've just decided to add in a few more French knots into that other flower I did first, just to change the colour up a little bit. It just looks better with a different colour. So here you can see the extra French knots that I've added in, and also the sequins. Now I'm going to do some beading. So I'm using a really small needle. It's not actually a proper beading needle, but it's small enough that it fits through these little seed beads. So the seed beads that I'm using are just a metallic green. And all I'm doing is coming straight up through the bead and then doing 1 stitch to keep it in place. We will actually show you more of this type of embellishment when we do the different blocks. So each month we will be showing you some different ways to embellish, including using the sequins, the beads, and then different types of embroidery stitches, etc. So now I'm doing just a little bit of embellishing at the bottom, on the bottom group of flowers again, using some different sequins here. There's some little sort of green and purpley colours, which goes along nicely with the colour theme on my title page. And I do a few French knots as well. So with a few beads and sequins and French knots, I'm all done with embellishing the flowers at the top and bottom of my title page. Now to show you some of Mum's work. This is Mum Juju, we call her. So Mum's working in a red, white and blue theme. So the first thing I wanted to show you was this needlebook case that Mum made, because basically she stitched it like a sampler. So I'll get that open, it's a bit hooked on a needle there. I'll just get that unhooked. So she's got her needles on the inside, and then so it's just stitched to some toile on the inside as well, and then on the back you can see it's like a sampler. So she's got some running stitch, then she's got some lazy daisy with some French knots. I think she's whipped a chain stitch there. It looks like the next knot might be either a French knot or a colonial knot. Then she's got some lazy daisies which are running on a stem stitch. That kind of looks like a herringbone stitch and maybe a little bit of satin stitch at the top. She's got a stem stitch. Then it's like a zigzag, just a straight stitch with some knots, pistol stitch, fly stitch and also back stitch. So she's got a lot of the different stitches that we've done in our sample. So this is Mum's first sampler page, again following the red, white and blue theme. She's got some vintage French laundry labels at the top, and then she's got the titles. She's actually sewn the titles of each stitch. So you've got running, whipped, running stitch, back stitch, stem stitch, split stitch, cross stitch. She's got a little bit of seed stitching there, French knots, colonial knots, pistol stitch, and a little bit of running stitch at the bottom. So just to show you closer so you can see. Okay, now we're going to have a look at sampler number 2. So Mum's done some satin stitch, and I think that is, I'm just looking, that is a stem stitch. She's got a chain stitch and she's whipped a chain stitch. She's got lazy daisies on a stem stitch. She's got the herringbone stitch, the fly stitch, bullion knots, couching over that large blue thread. She's got the blanket stitch there in red. She's done some weaving, and then she's done some turkey work at the bottom. So they are Mum's 2 samples in red, white and blue, in sort of Mum's kind of theme of colours. And then I'm also going to show you, she started working on her title page. So this will be her, I'm pretty sure this will be her title page. So she's got a piece of 12 fabric. She's fussy cut out some different flowers. She's attached them to the fabric using blanket stitch. And then she has started to do a little bit of embellishment with some beading in the middle. So that's something that I think is still a work in progress. And then just underneath, I thought you might like to see this piece of linen. So this is a linen tea towel, French linen tea towel, that Mum is embroidering in red. So this would be classed as, I think, red work. And there's different types of stitches in that work. There's a lot of stem stitch, running stitch and satin stitch. So I hope you have enjoyed seeing the different projects from Mum, and also seeing how I put together my title page. As I said, title pages are not compulsory, but feel free to make one. It might be something you want to do until we get started in January. And also just wanted to let you know that we have set up a Facebook group, so that you are very welcome to join, and you can share your pictures and ask questions and chat with other people that are doing the project as well. So I'll put a link in the bottom of this video to that Facebook group, and you are very welcome to join it, and Rachel will be advertising it as well on her video. So thanks for watching today, and I will see you again soon. Bye.